So back to the one good idea creates another. We have the vision beginnings, which is next picture. This was our first graduation, and that's when we knew we'd really gotten something good. If you can see this, this joy, this humor, this delight that people had in each other. So as we've talked about, we created, we used the very solid GIVE product to apply for a Welcoming Communities initiative. And because we had the track record and we had used community partnerships, we had all of the little tick, 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 tick that allowed us to go forward with the Vision Project. One of the aspects that was in the, next one? What that was in the proposal is, for me, kind of core issues. This is guiding principles we used from a professor at Ryerson. And actually, interesting enough, you don't know these people are famous in the bigger world, but when I put his name into it, Google, he comes up all over the world as quoted for these particular, he's very, very well known. And I think this is really where we built our program. Valued recognition, respect, acknowledging people's worth, supporting the community and schools that are sensitive to cultural differences, so making that a big priority. Nurturing the human development, so being very focused on that, not looking at people as, that's kind of touchy-feely, that we have to make sure that self, that person in the situation is supported, and that the experiences they have produce growth. That we engage them in a way that they are supported in all the decisions that we make, and that they have input in the curriculum, and that they actually are engaged in the process. And we also saw that the more we tried to bring them into interaction with each other, the more they grew. So the closer and the more frequent and the more intense the conversations, the more they learned. And also, because we were fortunate enough to have the budget to do so, we were able to provide them with food, we were able to provide them with childcare, and that made it possible for some people who couldn't have come to have come. And with the support of our community partners, some of those people who had restricted incomes and who were on OW were also able to get transportation support. So in a way, we met those guiding principles. And they were really helpful because you don't always think about everything like that at that level. So the key insights were that we were meeting the newcomers earlier in their settlement journey, that that's what we need to do, that we need to look at our community as we take all the data from our groups. We realize that our community, as it happened in GIVE, evolves. And as it evolves, the program has to evolve. So really at every time you're required almost to do a revision of the kind of program you're offering, which requires a lot from the people who are facilitating the program. But on the other hand, as they were saying to me yesterday in the table talk around the World Cafe, is that's what teachers do. They have kids of all stages and origins in their classroom, and they have to basically develop a curriculum that meets those needs. So I think it ups the ante a little bit, but I think the outcomes are worth it. And so that's kind of that element. So for us, I think in the future, if you were looking at program development, it has to be stimulating and engaging in a way that promotes growth, that they actually are in an environment where there is the content where it's really interesting and has real value. So we have to understand, and that's where the assessment of the need is important to do that first before we program, because we program and then are trying to catch up afterwards. We have to do that assessment first, interview our participants, get a sense of what they really need, have the active learning, ensure that the placements are more than just token. And I think this cohort in particular we saw some really good matches of people with their skill sets working with teachers in the schools that really needed their skills and were really appreciative that they had this backup of this really skilled person from another country. And I think the longer we were to, if we could do that over a long period of time, the better we would get at matching those skill sets with the participants. And I think, again, to get things like a reference from their supervisor and to allow them to feel that they've actually made a difference. Most of them are really touched by the fact that kids loved them and wanted them there, and the teachers wanted them there. And often coming to a new country, they begin to feel invisible and they don't feel like they're wanted. So it's kind of a very healing process, actually, to have that experience. One of the models that that I used, and if I was over there, I would make those little arrows fly in and out in a very disturbing way, is that you really can't see the person or the situation in isolation. And that basically we are like a funnel of many different things interacting simultaneously on people. So we know that even if the person comes and they have a great education and they have great volunteer experience, but something is not okay in their family, it won't work. We know that if they have a great education and great background and they can't get the right placement, that doesn't work. So really all those factors have to come together in a kind of a mindful way. So when you're in the process, you have to keep those things in place. So what happened is often what went on in the room was only part of what happened in the program, because Carol will tell you, and Joyce will tell you, and Yasmin will tell you that there were many things that we were told outside of the space that made a big impact on what we did and how we reacted and how we problem solved, because the other elements in their life needed to be attended to in order for them to be successful. So basically that's what this was about. It was a very dynamic process, the vision model. And one of the things that we did do was we saw the individual. We spent a lot of time doing that, but then we created the learning groups. And the learning groups happened in cohort 2, and we started to see if that would work. And it seemed to work, because what happened was, and that's what one of the participants was saying today, thank you, because we learned to feel, we felt trusted and respected, and we felt safe. Well, when you have a learning group that you sit with for days on days, and you share your life, and you share your sorrows, and you share your insecurities, you gradually began to feel comfortable. Then you can start to grow out. The learning groups became like this incubator for their testing things out, where they couldn't test them out anywhere else. They couldn't often test them out at home. So the learning groups, you can go to the next page, supported the learning, developed relationships, and they learned more deeply, I think. I think we were fortunate in the first group is that we had a small group and we got to know them very well because they were a small group. As a larger group, we might have had a different experience. And we also were fortunate we had some leaders in the first group, Imelda being one, who created a lot of relationships that created the same sense of safety and support. So, there's many factors in creating a really good learning experience. But by the time we got to cohort number 3, people are saying, oh, well, table 4, let's take a picture of table 4, dynamic table 4, innovative table 9, because it had become theirs, which is part of what's missing as a newcomer. You often don't have your group. Where is your group? And one of the things that grew out of this was we decided to, as you know, we have a website, but we also started to, in cohort 3, we developed a Facebook page for our participants. Not sure whether it would work, not sure if they would buy in, not sure if they'd have the interest in participating. Well, we were pretty darn surprised because it just took off. And that's something, I guess, that is new to to us is that they created connections across that we couldn't have done because we didn't have the time to do that. So that Facebook has been buzzing. You know, people send me pictures. I get music sent from the best hot pics from Iran. You know, it's amazing that I'm learning, but they're also sharing, and they're sharing across cultural. So it's not just one group or another. So I would suggest that that's a new thing, and we did it in a way, thanks to Joyce, that set up really fine privacy settings so that there was no danger that they would be in any way exposed to inappropriate contact. So as they're leaving today, they're not like Group 2 and Group 1 where they're leaving and they don't know whether they're going to be able to see each other. They're saying to me, "I'll see you on Facebook," which doesn't feel so bad, right?